Good morning. Let's try that again. Is that better? Yep, I heard a yep. Welcome to this Unitarian Church, which includes our churches in Birmingham, in Tuscaloosa, and all of our folks online. Today is one of our glorious partnership Sundays with Tuscaloosa. Would all of our Tuscaloosa folks please rise or wave your hands so we can know where you are? Thank you for being here this morning. Lashana Tova to all of our Jewish friends as they celebrate Rosh Hashanah today. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are today and wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. To all who are here this morning, welcome home.
Good morning. We appreciate your attention to this morning's announcements. You'll find announcements in our order of service or on the slides for those of you at home. If you require accommodations during our service this morning, our ushers are available to assist in the back. Please fill out your connection card and notice the opportunities at the bottom. Folks online, your connection card is in the link in the description or in the chat. We appreciate everyone filling out the connection card. We are delighted to welcome our friends from Tuscaloosa this morning and invite everyone to stay after the service for a potluck and our Connections Fair. Our Connections Fair is for you to check out different ways to connect to this church and as ways for Tuscaloosa folks to connect with our Birmingham folks during doing the same work across the miles. We hope you'll take advantage of connecting with one another. We will need help setting up tables and chairs immediately following the service. We will need tables in the middle for eating, tables along the periphery for the booths, and tables in the narthex for food. We appreciate your help. Next week, we are hoping for about 20 people to go to Tuscaloosa as part of our partnership exchange. Please sign up on your connection card to carpool or to let us know you plan to go. We greatly appreciate you checking the bottom of your connection card each week to sign up for new opportunities, a new name tag, or to connect with our staff. We also have the following special announcements from Elizabeth, our music director.
Hello, everyone. This announcement is about the children's choir. We're going to be starting that up again. This Wednesday at 5:30, we're going to have an informational meeting, and we'll have that down in the children's choir room, so I hope to see you there. All families, kids, parents, everyone is welcome. I just want to make sure that we're all getting the same information and we're on the same page, and I'm so excited to start making music with your kids.
And we have one more announcement from Jay Gregory.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, I'm Jay Gregory Clark with Faith in Action, Alabama, and I'm delighted to worship with you this morning alongside my friend and your pastor, Reverend Julie Conradi. She invited me to tell you a little bit about Faith in Action and what we do. Faith in Action is a multi-faith, multi-racial organization whose mission is to dismantle systemic racism in order to create pathways of opportunity for every Alabamian. Now that's a lot of words, a fancy way of just saying we want to see the right things in our communities. And we organize inside faith houses in order to bring this to pass. We organize in all faith houses because here in the house of God, there is convening power. You have come here because you have a belief in something greater than yourself, and we want to tap into that belief in order to create the community that we want to see. Now, we currently move about 3 campaigns here in the Birmingham area. We move an anti-gun violence campaign, which is primarily through Birmingham Peacemakers. We have groups of people who walk the streets of the most dangerous parts of the city on a weekly basis in order to stem the gun violence that's going on that's gotten out of hand. The other side of that campaign is a victim response side, and we work with victims of violent crime in order to get them compensation from the state of Alabama. Also, we have a voter rights restoration campaign, which consists of several individuals who are formerly incarcerated, helping those who have lost their voting rights due to felony disenfranchisement to get their voting rights back. We do that in two ways. We do it on a case-by-case basis. We go outside the check-in offices and meet people in person through Jefferson County Reformation Program, and we register people to vote individually. But we're also moving legislation to make it easier for people that have lost their right to vote to get it back long term. Also, in addition to our anti-gun violence campaign and our voter rights restoration campaign, we're starting a brand new initiative this year for 2024 called Birmingham United Youth, where we teach young people how to organize in order to bring about change in their community. Now, we believe in the principles that Ella Jo Baker taught during the Civil Rights Movement. How many are familiar with Ella Jo Baker? Okay, a few. I see a few hands. Not many people are. When you think civil rights, most of the time you think Dr. Martin Luther King. And he was the face of the movement, but Ella Jo Baker was the organizing power behind that movement. She helped organize the SCLC, which is the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and the SNCC SNCC, which is the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. And those two entities really were the power base behind the civil rights movement. So we teach those types of principles, like having one-to-ones, doing research actions, doing public actions, and evaluating that process. And we use those principles to bring about change. If you would like to join us in that effort, please see Reverend Conrad or Matthew. You can talk with Matthew, who is here. Stand up, Matthew. Matthew and I have had a couple of conversations about getting a team together for the Unitarian Church so that we can all work together alongside other believers around these issues. Yes.
Great job. Okay. I wanted to add something.
Sure.
Are you done?
I was going to ask for questions, but go ahead.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Ask a question.
Is there a question from anyone about who I am or what I do? Yes. We will definitely get you signed up.
Thank you, Jay Gregory. I just wanted to add, a couple weeks ago, I asked you all to be some interfaith ambassadors in some racial justice work. And Jay Gregory is the person who is our connection to that organization. So I just wanted to be able to put those two things together. It's really important for folks that are able to code switch and do that in a healthy way. But also, Jay Gregory has done such an amazing job at welcoming Unitarians into his midst. And so I just want to thank him for the radical hospitality that he has offered us. And again, we're looking for about 7 more people. We'd like a contingent of about 15 from the church. So if you're interested, mark it on your connection card or let me know. But
thank you, Pastor.
It's a pleasure to do the work with you.
Thank you, Pastor. And I'll be hanging around, so if you have any questions that you think of later, please come see me, all right?
The prelude prepares us for worship. please rise in body or spirit for the lighting of the chalice. Murphy's Law. We light our chalice this morning with our hearts turned to the work of our congregations. We have inherited these institutions for many generations of people who believed in the power of human beings to bear love into the world. We carry this tradition for those who find comfort, inspiration, and joy within its real and virtual spaces. We tend the spark of imagination and hope for the world to come. In the spirit of inclusivity and welcome, please take a few moments to greet those around you, especially those you may not recognize. Ready? All right, let's get going. All right, please rise in body or spirit and join together in singing number 361 in the hardcover hymnal.
I call Matthew Villarreal to the pulpit. Come up here, Matthew. Congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Churches of Birmingham and Tuscaloosa, we have begun a new thing by bringing an intern into our midst. Yes. To learn the practice of parish ministry and to stretch and grow with us. And no pressure on me that I have something to teach him. So, as we assume this mantle of a teaching congregation, it is up to us to offer Matthew support and compassion as he grows into the visionary minister he has been called to be. It is up to us to create the safe container where he can succeed and fail, where he is free to create a ministry here with you. Congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Churches of Birmingham and Tuscaloosa, will you give generously of your time, wisdom, and compassion? Will you trust yourselves and Matthew to dare to engage fully in this internship? Will you keep hearts and minds open to the gifts he brings to this congregation? If so, please answer with an enthusiastic, we will. We will. Yes. See how excited everyone is? Will the internship committee please rise in body or spirit? I know a couple of them are online, but thank you. No, stand up. Thank you for your commitment to Matthew and to the process of growing a minister in our midst. Will you give generously of your time, wisdom, and compassion? Will you mentor Matthew as he grows into the visionary minister he has been called to be? Will you help us to create a safe container where he can succeed and fail, where he is free to create a ministry here with us? If so, we will. Thank you. Matthew, we look forward to working with you in all the ways. May we enter into this relationship with humility and compassion, openness and curiosity. Amen. Thank you. Welcome, welcome. Do we have a justice minute? Yeah, come on.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Kylie Kerr. I am the Beacon for justice here at UUCB. I know this is a new thing that we've started here, but I want to draw your attention to this side of your lovely insert in the order of service. I'm going to read it, even though I know you guys can all read, just because I'm excited about this project that we're undertaking as our congregations. This is our Justice Issues Survey. So we know while all social justice issues are important to the members of our joint congregations, our justice committees are interested in focusing on a few key issues, kind of honing in and seeing where the church's interests lie. We want to just concentrate our impact in the upcoming year. There's a QR code below to fill out the survey, scan it with your phone. There's also a paper copy of the surveys in the back. You can ask the ushers and we can get those out to you. I just want to read the list real quick. The big thing here, folks and friends, is you can only pick 3 off this very important list that is not exhaustive. Obviously, I reached out to a couple of folks and I said, what do you think are actionable items we as a congregation can focus on, with the thought in mind that while we are located in Birmingham, not all of our congregants are. Not all of our congregants are even located in Jefferson County. So thinking what we can do locally here, slightly more broader, and then across the state especially, actionable items that we can focus on and try to create impact in. So what we have, so you can start noodling all that up there in your smart brains. Sorry, I teach middle school, stuck in that language. Accessibility and disability rights, environmental justice, gun safety, immigration reform and justice, interfaith cooperation, LGBTQ book bans, especially what's going on in our local libraries, LGBTQ issues as a broader subject, Medicaid expansion, minimum wage, prison reform, racial discrimination, reproductive justice, transgender rights, and voting rights. And I did just notice that I made a typo, so when I sit down, I'll correct that. If you were one of the first 10 people who took the survey already, 1, thank you. And 2, I did make a correction that I wanted to address. As we all know, we are constantly learning and growing, and as language updates, we need to make sure we keep up with it. My original draft of the survey said gun control, and I'm learning that the updated language is common sense gun laws or gun safety. Just so you know, I will be putting those 2 together when we look at final results. But I did want to make sure we kept up with updated language. And thank you to our Moms Demand Action members to making sure that I am informed so our congregations are better informed. Take your time for a little bit, mull this over. Please fill out the survey, and thank you so much for your participation. And I'm excited to see what this upcoming year holds for us in the areas of justice. Thank you so much.
And good morning again. I'm Melanie Gear. I'm one of the co-chairs of the Justice Committee, and I wanted to make everyone aware of an environmental justice issue that is going to be going on in Montgomery this Wednesday. So our local Black Warrior River Keepers Association has sued Alabama Power through the EPA related to their handling of coal ash waste. Most of their coal ash deposits are situated near waterways and rivers and so forth, and the Black Warrior River Keepers has proven that these coal ash deposits are not in compliance with EPA regulations. So they are asking anyone who can come to Montgomery. It's all day Wednesday. They'd like anyone with a special interest and who would be willing to speak at the hearing to sign up. And there's also potential, there are opportunities to email our representatives this week prior to the hearing. So I would encourage you all to go to the Black Warrior River website and follow information about letting your voice be heard prior to Wednesday. And if you have any questions or if you want to sign up to be on a team or lead an environmental team, environmental justice, we're always looking, you know, as Helen Rivas likes to say, justice is a growing All justice is an expanding field, and we can't keep up with everything on our own. So if we have anyone specifically interested in environmental justice, especially related to Alabama, let us know. We'd love to have someone lead that team. So see me afterward if you have any questions. And please, Black Warrior, River Keepers, all the information will be online. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. I just want to point out that the Justice Survey is really about our capacity as congregations to figure out what we can shove our energy towards, but it certainly doesn't limit what I'm going to preach about. So don't you worry. Now is that time in our community when we share what is on our hearts, whether joy or sorrow. For those of you online, please share yours in the chat, and remember to comment with one another and hold one another in love. For those of you in person today, you are now invited to come forward and drop a stone in honor or in memory of what is on your heart today. Please come forward. Today we celebrate having Kathy back with us this morning. Love you, Kathy. And we lift up Ken Richardson, who is still recovering from hip surgery. And so keep him in your thoughts and minds as well. We also have a meal train that's going to be going out for Xander, who is having top surgery in the next few days. So please be watching the email if you can help provide some meals. May we keep one another in our hearts and minds in the spirit of community and love. Please join me in the spirit of meditation, followed by a moment of silence. Today's meditation is in honor of the 60th anniversary of the 16th Street Church bombing. We remember this morning the blast that shook our community 60 years ago, when 5 little girls gathered in a bathroom preparing to lead their church service that morning. Sarah Collins survived with lasting injuries, and we give thanks for her survival and witness. But 4 little girls perished that day. Repeat their names with me. Addie Mae Collins, Cynthia Wesley, Carol Robinson, Denise McNair. We remember them this morning. We also remember the lives of Johnny Robinson and Virgil Ware, 2 young black teenagers also murdered that day for the color of their skin. Say their names with me. Johnny Robinson, Virgil Ware. We lift up their families and our community for the loss of life and potential that day. We honor their legacy. We mourn the loss of human lives, and we affirm today, as we do every day, that Black lives matter. We remember how the world shifted that day, how the world suddenly heard and understood what people in Alabama had known for so long, that the shackles of racism continue to afflict and restrict. We recognize that when those children died, the world knew we needed to change. We remember how this congregation was so intimately involved with the Black community that our founding minister, Reverend Alfred Hobart, knew about the blast before most people did by a note passed during his sermon, and he immediately took up a collection and went to 16th Street Baptist Church. We honor this legacy by continuing to partner with Black-led organizations in Birmingham who are doing the good work, and yet there is more work yet to do. Grief is real. Community and generational trauma affect us all. May we hold the families of these children in our hearts this morning, and remember that the work continues to dismantle the systems that create hate. Let us honor our real and true history together. Let us take a moment of silence. Amen and blessed be. May the children please come forward.
Good morning, friends. I have so many friends up here today. I'm very excited. So I have a story to share. It's called, does it, maybe, no. This one is called, What Do You Do With an Idea? You've read that book. Both the Starks are very excited, like simultaneously Stark excitement. That was interesting. So, well, I'm so glad that you've heard it. Let's share it with the rest of our friends. Sound like a good plan? No response. Okay, awesome, cool. So, One day, I had an idea. Where did it come from? Why is it here? I wondered, what do I do with an idea? Good question. At first, I didn't think much of it. It seemed kind of strange and fragile. I didn't know what to do with it, so I just walked away from it. I acted like it didn't belong to me. But it followed me. We'll have to see. I worried what others would think. What would people say about my idea? I kept it to myself. I hid it away. I didn't talk about it. I tried to act like everything was the same as it was before my idea showed up. But there was something magical about my idea. I had to admit, I felt better and happier when it was around. Are you happy? Okay, we'll talk about it after the story. Hold on a second. It's a potato? The idea is a potato. Let's all see. Well, it wanted food. It wanted to play. Actually, it wanted a lot of attention. I don't know anything that wants lots of attention around here. It is a baked potato. It grew bigger, and we became friends. I showed it to other people, even though I was afraid of what they would say. I was afraid that if people saw it, they would laugh at it. I was afraid that they would think it was silly. And many of them did. And they said it was no good. They said it was too weird. They said it was a waste of time and it would never become anything. That wasn't very nice. Those are not nice people. At first, I believed them. I actually thought about giving up on my idea, and I almost listened to them. But then I realized, what do they really know? This is my idea. I thought, no one knows it like I do, and it's okay to be different, and maybe a little crazy. I decided to protect it, to care for it, to feed it food. I worked with it. I played with it, but most of all, I gave it attention. I built it a new house that had an open roof where it could see and where it could look up at the stars, a place where it could be safe to dream. I like to be safe to dream too. I liked being with my idea. It made me feel more alive, like I could do anything. It encouraged me to think big and then think bigger. It shared its secrets with me. It showed me how to walk on my hands because it said it's always good to have the ability to see things differently. I couldn't imagine my life without it. You see it? And then one day, something amazing happened, Aria. My idea changed right before my very eyes. It spread its wings, and it took flight, and it burst into the sky. It was a dragon in the potato. I don't know how to describe it, but it went from being here to being everywhere. It wasn't just a part of me anymore. It was a part of everything. I guess everyone ate the potato. And then I realized what you do with an idea. You change the world. The end with a potato. We'll talk about downstairs. All right, friends, are you ready to go downstairs for some community time? Excellent. Could you all sing us out, please?
Good morning. I am Julie Nicholson Morgan, member of the board. Our church is supported by those who call our church home and by those who support the efforts of our church to change our world for the better. If this is your first time with us, please pass the plate. We're just glad that you're here. We share our cash plate every Sunday with organizations whose work reflect UU values to care for marginalized persons, advocate for real and systemic change, defend our environment, and promote justice and equity for all. Today's Share the Plate is for TAKE, which stands for Transgender Advocates Knowledge Empowering, a local organization caring for trans persons of color. TAKE focuses on discrimination in the workplace, housing advocacy, support for sex workers, providing trans-friendly services, and work to alleviate the many other barriers that trans women of color face. We appreciate your donations either by placing them in the plate, by mailing your donation to the church, or by using PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle. More information is found in the order of service in the lower right corner. Thank you for your generous support of our church and our Share the Plate recipient. May we give in love and in hope.
As we lift our voices on this day, many hearts are heavy with despair. How can our lifted voices find a way to bring us one step closer to repair? If a wounded world we wish to heal, we must sing no ordinary song. Make it a cadence relevant and real. It's every measure purposeful and strong. Let this song our greatest hopes contain. Well-fed children be its just refrain. Roofs over every heartbeat be its tune. Its harmony from peaceful cities hewn. Sing of hope while hammering each nail. Sing of joy while pulling every weed. Sing to renew a covenant grown frail. May every alleluia plant a seed. May every alleluia plant a seed.
It's hard to follow that. Thanks, Elizabeth. So So let's be honest with one another this morning. How many of you were inspired to come to church based on my sermon title? A couple of you? Okay, so that's not the driving force. All right. I'm excited to find out what it is. So some of you are here trying to figure out what it is that a minister has to say about humanism this morning. Y'all are probably expecting me to go off on that, and that's what I'm going to talk about, but in a different way than you might expect. So when was the last time that you tried to explain to someone else what Unitarian Universalism or our churches are and do? I know some of you were doing it yesterday on Facebook because I saw you. It was pretty exciting. What did you say in that encounter when you were trying to explain what this church does and believes and all that? Oh, yeah, that's a good one. You what? You sing the children's song. That's great too. So as one of the few professional Unitarian Universalists in Alabama, because that is really my job, the professional Unitarian Universalist, I often give the elevator speech about what it is we actually do. And it's sometimes in very awkward situations, like at the doctor, when they're like, well, what do you do for a living? I can't just give a one-word response because then they have a bunch of questions. So I tweak my speech often based on reaction, the amount of time I want to be engaged in conversation, and whether my instincts indicate whether this is an ally or a potential member of our community. For those of you who have given an elevator speech about what it means to be Unitarian Universalist, you know exactly what I'm talking about. How many of you have given the speech? Lots of you. Lots of you. Okay. So lately, I've described our tradition as a community with no creed that focuses on how we treat one another. I explain how we have folks who identify in many ways under one roof and list adherents of all the major world religions, because we have them all here, as well as pagans and atheists. And when I began this elevator speech, I would get a little gasp at two of those words, pagans, atheists. But I no longer get a reaction. And I've learned that some churches in our vicinity are taking up my elevator speech and saying the same thing, that they welcome everyone of different beliefs, although there's one enormous difference. They only welcome folks with the intention of changing them. So, the one description that I have omitted from my elevator speech for a long time is our vast number of humanists, since describing humanism itself is just as complicated as describing Unitarian Universalism. Am I right? So I picked up a copy of Sarah Bakewell's Humanly Possible, 700 Years of Humanist Free-Thinking, Inquiry, and Hope, in a quest to better articulate what it is we mean when we say humanist. So Bakewell is a self-described humanist herself, and she wrote this book as an attempt to clearly define the humanist worldview. And reading her book has confirmed a theory that's been rolling around in my brain, that perhaps one of the reasons that we feel so welcome in Unitarian Universalist spaces is that we are all quite a bit humanist, even if we identify with a chosen religious tradition or are ardently atheist. All right, squirming too much? We ready to go? For those of you who are new to this church, you're probably freaking out right now. Please know that humanist and atheist are not taboo walls in this church. The vast number of people here, including folks of every generation, are identified by these terms very religiously. Ironically, to say religiously. Anyway, last week at a children's birthday party, and I changed names to protect the innocent, I realized that two of my friends, we'll call them Susan and Hannah, were connected, and they were exploring how they were connected together. And one of them, Susan, said that her spouse was an agnostic. And Hannah said, well, I'm an atheist. And Susan was a little bit taken aback. Like, oh my gosh, she just said that word. And it was shock, and it was relief, and it was wonderful for her that the word atheist had been spoken aloud, accepted, and was not an emergency call for prayer and conversion. And all of this happening in the vicinity of a minister. It was really great. And Susan then affirmed, well, her husband was actually an atheist. He just didn't feel comfortable with the general public knowing. That's why I changed the names. So how many of you have felt that way? That whatever your belief is that you bring into this building is not welcome in general spaces? Anybody? Yeah, a lot of you. Truth be told, there are not a lot of places where our folks feel like they can truly be transparent about what they believe. And a lot of our atheists especially don't feel they can identify as atheists safely outside these walls. When I tell folks who tell me that they identify as atheist, I say, that's wonderful. You have reached a step of the journey, but identifying yourself as an atheist is not the destination. There is still a vast world of theology or philosophy, if you prefer, that still wrestles with how and why humans make meaning in our lives, and whether or not we believe in a divine being is a small microcosm of the deepening of our souls and broadening our connections with one another. Because that's what humanism is about, recognizing that we are all connected as humans to one another. So Bakewell begins her work by exploring the definition of humanism. One definition she posits is that humanism is a philosophy that rejects supernaturalism and regards humans as a natural object and asserts the essential dignity and worth of humans and our capacity to achieve self-realization through the use of reason and the scientific method. The problem with that definition that Bakewell says, as an affirmed secular humanist, is that some humanists believe in God. I know. It's a wrench in the definition. So Kurt Vonnegut, you all know Kurt Vonnegut, writer and revolutionary, he wrote, "I am a humanist, which means in part that I have tried to behave decently without any expectations of rewards or punishments after I'm dead." I love that definition, and yet it only answers one of those many questions about finding meaning in life. That is, what happens after death. Humanism is not exclusively an answer to the religious questions about the meaning of life. Summarizing Bakewell, humans can be religious or humanists can be religious or non-religious, philosophical, focus their professional work on centering humans, or teach humanities. That is, the study of creativity and the potential of humans as a species. When we practice culture and thought and ritual and art, we are participating in behaviors unique to humanity. The activities into which we invest our time and energy, talking, telling stories, making pictures or models, working out ethical judgments and struggling to do the right thing, negotiating social agreements, worshiping in temples or churches or sacred groves, passing on memories, teaching, playing music, telling jokes. All of these behaviors are uniquely human, and they are the behaviors that humanists put at the center of their concern. So scientists study the physical world, and theologians study the divine world, and humans focus on human well-being. The Hebrew story of Esther that I discussed last week is a perfect example of humanism in the midst of religion, all of the characters in the story of Esther, all of the actions that take place, and all of the agents of change are all human. One of the earliest definitions of humanists come to us from India, before the 6th century, before the Common Era. Philosopher Ajita Kesambali said, "This human being is composed of the 4 great elements, and when one dies, the earth part reverts to the earth, the water part to water, the fire part to fire, and the air part to air, and the faculties pass away into space. Fool and wise at the breaking up for the body are destroyed and perish. They do not exist after death." Let me share some other humanist ideas throughout ancient history. Ancient Greek philosopher Democritus was called the laughing philosopher, since he who was freed from cosmic dread could chuckle at human foibles. Protagoras, who was a friend of Democritus, wrote, "As to the gods, I have no means of knowing either that they exist or they do not exist. For many are the obstacles that impede knowledge, both the obscurity of the question and the shortness of human life." Robert Ingersoll, who was a 19th century American freethinker, which is another word for secular humanist, wrote his own creed of humanism. He wrote, "Happiness is the only good. The time to be happy is now. The place to be happy is here. And the way to be happy is to make others so." Humanists seek to understand human life non-supernaturally, even those who believe in the existence of divine beings. Humanists also recognize that the meaning of our lives is to be found in our connections and our bonds with one another. From Asia to Africa to Europe and beyond, how we relate to one another is saturated in religious and secular traditions. As the author so cheekily points out, the golden rule, as found in Judaism, Hinduism, Christianity, Confucianism, and so many others, "Do unto others as you would have do unto you." Lots of different ways that they say that, but that's all about humanism. There's no divine intervention in that. We're supposed to treat one another kindly because we're also fellow humans. Are you with me? Yes, okay. If your inspiration for treating others with kindness has a divine element, then that's just a special part of you. The required element in that golden rule is how humans treat other humans. Bakewell also spends a few paragraphs describing what she calls the anti-humanist traditions, which I think is really important for us to play with. For those of you who are still thinking, "I'm not a humanist," I want you to know what an anti-humanist is. So anti-humanists are the folks who focus on the miseries and failings of being human, the ways in which we have failed to solve problems. Anti-humanists dislike earthly pleasures and are always trying to change themselves and other people. A good example of anti-humanist thought is original sin, the idea that babies, precious babies, are born inherently broken and in need of saving. Now, not all theists believe in original sin. Most of the theists in this congregation don't. For many, praising humans is a way of praising God, since for some we are made in God's image. It is ironic to me that in discussing humanism this morning, I have mentioned the concept of God more than I usually do. But I'm trying to define things. So anti-humanist thought has been taught for centuries to be opposed to humanism, because humanism, with our self-empowering, with the thought that humans can actually create change, is terrifying to people who control the reins, such as Pope Innocent III. Now, if you all know anything about popes, any pope named Innocent is not. So, Pope Innocent III wrote a treatise titled On the Misery of Man. Okay, it's really epic. He wrote that you begin life as lumps of slime, dust, and filthy seed, thrown together in a moment of lust. Real life consists of toil, anxiety, and suffering until you die, after which your soul may end up burning in hell while your body becomes food for worms. So the Pope's treatise is a good example of anti-humanism. Folks on TikTok, do not take that piece and quote this as my sermon, because it is not it. You got to get the rest. On Friday, I attended the 60th anniversary of the 16th Street Church bombing that killed those 4 little girls, Addie Mae Collins, Denise McNair, Carol Robinson, and Cynthia Wesley. And it injured Sarah Collins Rudolph, who's a friend of this congregation. And in the aftermath, Virgil Ware and Johnny Robinson were murdered as well. The service was a mixture of religious humanism and reliance on a divine being for comfort and justice. Some described the devastation that happened on that day as evil orchestrated by supernatural forces. Others described that evil that day as created by and for humans, a mark on our history that we all find abhorrent. As humanists, we can say that humans were at fault and change needs to happen at the human level. When it comes to humanism in our congregations, the majority of our folks practice non-religious humanism. We have a humanist group that has been a mainstay in our congregation for years as an affinity group for folks who want to discuss secular humanism more deeply. Our group has even been certified by the American Humanist Association. If you go to their website, we get pulled up. And since our beloved Ginger Campbell moved to New Zealand, we have lacked the leadership to continue this group. And so I hope that my sermon is going to inspire a couple of you to say that this affinity group in our congregation that so many of you identify with is so important, we need it to continue. And I'll help you get started. I think this book is a good start. I think we need to know our history. And if there's interest from our Tuscaloosa folks, I hope we can arrange some things through our partnership. There is no doubt that a strong humanist contingent exists in our congregations. And I'm just going to say this is optional. Tech folks are not going to zoom in on you. But I just want a raise of hands for those of you who are comfortable identifying as humanists publicly. Anybody? All right, see, we've got a really good contingent. You're not alone. I invite you to consider this morning for you as an individual if humanism is the part of the description of your spiritual journey, whether you are atheist or theist or spiritual but not religious or many other things that you might identify with. In preparing for this sermon, I recognize that the 25% of folks of our congregation who do not identify as atheist still have a strong humanist bent, because humans are the change makers in society. And after all, it is our pagans who run our family care pantry, right? Thanks, pagans, for doing that. If you believe that humans are inherently good and create beauty in the world and society, you're a little bit humanist. If you believe that humans who do horrible things deserve justice in this life, then you're a humanist. If you're a grandparent who has praised a grandchild's accomplishment, or you're a friend who has celebrated a birthday, or you're a teacher who has been proud of a student, or you're a parent who's been proud of your child, you're a humanist. And if you aren't a humanist, that's okay. You are still welcome in this space. Stay positive. After all, we have nothing to fear after death. After all, it's one of the great benefits of recognizing that we have only one life to make the world a better place, to appreciate our connections, our creativity, and our human work together. Let us recognize the beauty in all human faces and celebrate what we create individually and together. Thank you.
Please, excuse me. Please rise in body or in spirit for our closing hymn, and then be seated for our extinguishing of the chalice through the postlude. In honor of the 60th anniversary of the 16th Street bombing, our closing hymn is number 169. If you wish to join the church this morning, please come forward during the closing hymn. Once again, number 169 in the hardcover hymnal.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep is my heart. I do believe we shall overcome someday. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we'll walk hand in hand someday. We shall all be free. We shall all be free. We shall all be free someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall all be free someday. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall live in peace someday.
Please be seated. I'd like to introduce two of our new members this morning. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us how you found us?
Hey, I am Angel, and this is my daughter, Safira. We recently relocated back to Birmingham this summer in June, and we were formerly members of the UU of Bay County in Florida. So when we decided to move back to Birmingham, I remembered that Birmingham has an amazing UU, so I went ahead and started joining online for about 3 months. and now we're here and very happy to be here.
I know all of our folks on the stream are celebrating as well because they were watching and following you fervently to make sure you got here okay. So I'm so excited. Well, Angel and Safira, as members of this church, will you support it with all of your resources and energies available to make this world a better place? Wonderful. And congregation, will you help me to welcome Angel and Safira into our community and help them to connect with one another? Wonderful.
We extinguish this flame, but we keep its light in our hearts, with its message of love and justice, taking it outside these walls to the world we live in until we are together again.
My beloved humans, everything that you create, the connections that you make together, the change that we make in the world around us, all of it matters. Go in peace.
One more thing, sorry. If you can, please help us set up tables and chairs. We will need tables in the middle for eating, tables along the periphery for booths, and tables in the narthex for food. We appreciate your help.